Here to talk about the myotonic dystrophy. So, quick introduction. It's also known as DM. It's an inherited muscular dystrophy. It's the most common muscular dystrophy affecting 1 in 8,000 people. It's defined as a progressive muscle degeneration. So, as each generation inherits this disease, the symptoms get worse and worse. There are two types of DM, so type 1 and type 2. I'll talk about those later on, but type 1 is more common in most countries, but the how whatever is more popular depends on the ethnic background. So in other parts of the world, type 2 might be more popular, but as a whole, type 1 is more common. It is also an autosomal dominant pattern, so it's the dominant gene. So if you only have one, then you inherit that disorder. So causes. So it is what I said, it's dominant, so you only need one copy of the mutated gene to cause DM. So type 1 is caused by DMPK, a gene on chromosome 19, having an irregular expansion, and then type 2 is CNBP, a gene on chromosome 3 that has an irregular expansion. You can see down in the top right picture. These irregular expansions lead to repeats over 1,000 times that affect the messenger RNA. This then causes clumps inside the cell that disrupts the production of proteins. This then blocks muscle cells and cells in other tissues from working properly. So some symptoms. So most common symptoms is weakness in the legs, hands, neck, and face. The progression will get worse. You normally see these symptoms appear in the 20s to 30s, but has been seen at all ages. So type 1 and type 2 have overlapping symptoms, very similar, but type 2 tends to be milder. So type 1, typically with type 1, you're more likely to see weakness in legs, hands, neck, and face. And type 2, you're more likely to see muscle weakness in the neck, shoulders, elbows, and hips. Other symptoms of DM is cataracts, type 2 diabetes, constipation, cardiac conduction defects, which has to do with the heart. Sometimes men can suffer from balding and even infertility. Also, babies can be affected. All of their muscles can be affected and lead to mental retardation and even death. So diagnosis, there can be a physical exam where a doctor can see that like the muscles in your face are like the jaw and neck muscles to be weaker. And then there's another test called EMG, electromyography. This is a little bit better of a test. This is done by embedding a tiny needle in the person's muscle and then monitoring the electrical activity of muscles, and then studying those patterns. And then the most definite test is the genetic testing. That's easy. They just take the blood sample and then look at chromosome 3 and chromosome 19 to be able to tell if you have that mutation. So on to treatment. So there's no current treatments. Doctors will give someone with DM either a brace or some type of support to help them with their muscle weakness. But in terms of the muscle, like curing that muscle weakness and slowing it down and stopping it, there's not much they've figured out yet. But some treatments can be treated or mitigated, such as the cataracts, that can be treated. Constipation, they can be given laxatives, and then there is medication out to lessen the myotonia in the body. That just mitigates it, but it doesn't actually stop it. And currently, Expansion Therapeutics has been making movements towards finding a cure for this. So they're testing a molecule platform technology. And during this time, they've received 55 million Series A financing. So for history, it was first described by Hans Steinhardt in 1909. It was originally called Steinhardt disease too, and then was called myotonia atrophica. In 1918, it was examined to prove it gets worse through each generation. That was done by Dr. Fleischer. In 1941, discovered that DM affects muscles and not nerves, and that was found by Dr. Denny Brown and Dr. Nevin. And then in 1992, the genetic basis for DM was figured out and proven correct. So this was a huge breakout for us. It made it so the other tests to figure out if you have DM are less as important, because with the genetic testing, we're able to figure out that basis and easily find where the problem is. And here's my work sources.